And then the problem was, do we relaunch in the middle of a pandemic? There's less campaigns live, so there's less competing for attention. But the most important thing is community.
And I know collaborations are a big thing with a lot of people at the minute. How have you found it works best in terms of creating those relationships in the first place? Hi Simon, thanks for joining us on Tail Talks. First of all, what is your name, and can you just tell us a short little bit about your business and what you do?
Hi Alex, thanks for having me. My name's Simon Lyons and my company is Version 22. We design useful products which solve everyday problems around the home.
Fantastic. And you've currently got a crowdfunding campaign that's currently live on Kickstarter and seems to be going pretty well so far.
Yeah, I think there's about 3 weeks left of the campaign. So yesterday was 1 week since we launched. So it's been going about 8 days and we're at just over 350% funded so far, which is really exciting. So there's lots of people coming from all over the world really, and it's been really exciting.
Nice. And I think that's what's going to be interesting about this Tail Talks, is that we can do it from a perspective of where you're at with it, and obviously trying to raise some money during this period may be for some quite a difficult thing, but I think it's going to be interesting to get your perspective of what's happening. So how are you currently having to adapt to the changes that are occurring with the coronavirus, and what kind of impacts has that had on you?
So we actually launched this campaign previously. We'd already had one attempt which we ended up cancelling, and there was a period on Kickstarter where people got a bit panicky and started cancelling pledges and that sort of thing. To be honest, if I'm being honest with myself, the corona outbreak wasn't the thing that ended the campaign. It was, we made a few mistakes. We had a goal that was too high to start off with, and we should have started working with a marketing agency sooner than we actually did. And then the problem was, do we relaunch in the middle of a pandemic, or do we wait? How long are we going to be waiting if we do wait? And then once the pandemic's over, what's the economy going to be like? Is it going to be a better time to launch than in a pandemic or not? So that was the main challenge, and we just decided to go for it really, because we figured we could be in lockdown, we could be here for a while, so give ourselves something to do.
Yeah. Do you think that at the same time, launching a crowdfunding campaign at this time has almost provided certain opportunities that you maybe wouldn't have had if we weren't in this situation at the minute?
Definitely. We started working with a marketing agency this time around from day one. So that was one of the mistakes we made before. And we found that the marketing spend required, the cost per clicks had dropped because lots of companies have stopped marketing. Marketing is one of the first things to go when there's uncertainty. So there's a lot of people stopped spending on Facebook. So the cost per click went down. Yeah. And the number of Kickstarter campaigns that were live on Kickstarter just dropped week after week. I think they're down to about a 30% reduction at the moment as to what they were. And although that's not good for Kickstarter, I've heard that they're talking about sort of furloughing or laying off staff because of it. What it does mean is that there's less campaigns live, so there's less competing for attention. But again, there's still a lot of unpredictability. So something major could happen next week and people could panic en masse and start cancelling pledges and orders and stuff. So it's tricky. It's impossible to predict.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's been obviously a lot of different Facebook ads that haven't been received very well. People are still trying to sell a little bit too much. So how have you got around that with trying to relay a message that isn't too pushy and is a bit more sensitive to the time that we're currently in?
It's really hard to say. I guess it's just appealing to people's desires and trying to help people see a product in a way that it might fit into their homes. So you don't want to plaster your adverts with text and have huge discounts and use 50 emojis in your ads and 5 different links and buy now and that sort of thing. But at the same time, you have to also balance not going too far with not being too laid back. So if there's no call to action, if there's no sense of urgency at all, then people tend to procrastinate. And with Kickstarter, that can have a huge impact. So if you don't get initial sales and results really early on in a campaign, then it just sort of pops and fizzles and dies. If you're too laid back about your marketing and your call to actions, then people say, well, it's, the campaign's open for 30 days, I'll see how it goes, and maybe come back in 3 weeks. But then if everyone does that, 3 weeks later, no one's backed, and everyone thinks, oh, well, there's no point now because it's not going to reach its goal.
No, I think it's really interesting. What advice can you offer to other people who are either looking to start a crowdfunding campaign, they've maybe got a product which is in that early stage, which they've got to be thinking about how to potentially raise investment, and also people who are still looking to get their products out there using different ads? What kind of things would you recommend to those individuals?
The key thing is to really put a lot of weight into that first day, those first few hours. So rather than thinking of it as a 30-day spread out campaign where you've got loads of things planned and you're going to do one thing each week until the end of the campaign, you almost want to cram it all in. So if you've got an email list and ads and some press releases planned and a collaboration, maybe a podcast interview, try and get all of those in the first day or two, and then it snowballs and more opportunities come along, and you can always find more ways to market and more ways to spread the word and more ways to engage with the people that have come on board, and more ways to tell the story about the campaign and the product. Try and launch with a bang, really. That's the key thing.
No, I like that. And I know one thing as well you do a lot of is different collaborations with others that have got products or doing crowdfunding campaigns. What can you recommend in terms of others creating those collaborations? And I know collaborations are a big thing with a lot of people at the minute, trying to build those relationships. How have you found it works best in terms of creating those relationships in the first place?
I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk, he said, if you aim to offer 51% or more of the value in a relationship, then goodwill builds, and you build relationships that way, really positive relationships that way. So sometimes we'll just feature other people's Kickstarter campaigns in an email list as an added extra without that being part of an agreement of any collab. And collaborating with people that might have a slightly smaller audience than you, you're giving more than you're taking, because they're getting more of a further reach for their project, for their campaign than you are. But that means that if you're the one doing the approaching, odds are you're going to get a lot more people coming on board for collaborations, because you're coming to the table with more. And then another thing is making sure you're collaborating with the right people, or not necessarily the right people when it comes to Kickstarter, more the right products, because you don't want to be sharing something with your audience that isn't of interest to them. So it's about being really picky with who you're cross-promoting with, who you're collaborating with. You want to be working with companies that are offering something that you genuinely think your audience and your customers would actually like, and that way you're offering them value as well. So you're offering value to the person you're collaborating with, and you're offering value to your customers. We've been tempted before and collaborated with campaigns and projects which had a big following, and they approached us, and we thought, yeah, let's go for it, even though it's not the best fit. It sort of worked, and we sort of shoehorned it in, and we were like, yeah, it'll be great. And then you just get no or little response from something like that. Okay,
brilliant. And final thing, have you got any final remarks for anyone who might be watching, anyone that can maybe relate to your story, anything that you've been up to? Have you got any kind of final remarks to kind of help keep them sane, or to help through this period?
So if you're looking at starting your own idea, perhaps launching a Kickstarter campaign, I'd say that the most important thing, we've talked about different marketing strategies, but the most important thing is community, building a community, having the list of people that you can email and reach out to is really, really important. And now's a great time to build that community and strengthen it, because a lot of people are locked up in their homes with not much to do, looking to reach out and communicate with people. So, and it can be a two-way thing. You don't have to just be emailing out an email list, a newsletter every week. You can be starting conversations with them, asking people questions, asking them how they're getting on, asking them to get in touch with you and start a conversation rather than just it being a one-sided relationship.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Brilliant. Cheers then. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you for your time, and fingers crossed that once we're back again, that Gecko Hub's going to be going everywhere, not just from this crowdfunding campaign, but further afield as well. So yeah, all the best with that as well.
Thanks a lot. Fingers crossed.
Brilliant. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.